All right, going short NASDAQ here. This is during the 1050 1110 macro. And looking for lower prices. There was a pair of relative equal lows that I have marked out at 25,708.5. And then looking to get a partial at this 5-minute BISI. With the hope of it becoming an inversion fair value gap. I was watching that 5-minute fair value gap at the top. I wanted that to be inverted. We got that invert. And then I saw a potential mitigation block. So I entered as we were approaching the consequent approachment of it. Or that actually might be mean threshold. Regardless, the halfway mark. I'm going to enter the second contract as we traded back up into that mitigation block. Face a little bit of drawdown here. I was already positive for the day for these accounts, for these Lucid accounts trading Asia. So I decided to only trade one of the accounts. And we had such a run up from morning that I really wasn't interested in going long. I figured that at some point price would want to attack some of that buy side and attack long from the morning session from open. We also had traded up to the opening range gap from yesterday, and we failed to break past it. So that was another confluence for me. Not to say that we won't close that gap by the end of the day, but just seeing that rejection right prior to the macro, and then seeing the inversion of that 5-minute fair value gap, it kind of solidified this trade to go short. But if you were to look at a lot of the higher time frames, everything was still bullish. So I was just looking for, I wasn't looking for a home run here. I mean, I set my best case scenario about 168 points for my entry, but I was more so concerned just with getting that partial. I figured at the very least, if we were to continue to the upside and push into that opening range gap, price would want to come and tap into an inefficiency at some point. So I wasn't trying to get fancy with it. I just said, you know what? There was also a small little low, a wick low, right above that 5-minute fair value gap. So I figured that would be a nice area for partial. Adjusting my stop a little bit. I want to see us push through that old new day opening gap. Right here, I'm kind of seeing how close we are, and asking myself, do I want to go break even? I put my finger over the buy stop. I should have moved to break even, looking back at it, but I reduced my risk at the very least, so that was nice, to the top of that mitigation block. Now my eyes are looking at this gap here. There's actually two gaps stacked on top of each other, but I want the top one to be respected. I'm treating that as a breakaway gap. All right, at this point I remove my risk, being that we're very close to that partial target. I'm also thinking in my head, should I just manually exit since we're so close? But risk is removed. I'm trying to stay calm, remind myself that I'm up for the day. There's no loss on this trade, regardless of what happens. I'm not looking for a home run anyway. I'm positive on the day. So now we see price trade back to the consequent encroachment of that breakaway gap. And we get a close above it, but I'm not too worried about it because we have two fair value gaps, bearish fair value gaps stacked on top of each other. So to me, it's like a extra layer of resistance. I like this strong bearish candle once we closed, once we reach the top half of that bearish fair value gap. Partial taken. All right, so now this trade is risk-free, completely risk-free. We made money. I'm just labeling that breakaway gap. Now I want to see it eat into this 5-minute fair value gap that I have highlighted in yellow. I want it to be inverted. I want it to stay below that breakaway gap and start to eat at this 5-minute fair value gap. Preferably closes in the bottom half. Looks like price is respecting that breakaway gap, which I like to see. Also, that new day opening gap, that old new day opening gap high and low, that's right below that breakaway gap. We also have about 15 seconds left of that 5-minute candle, so I'm watching that to see if we close at least inside of this 5-minute fair value gap. So right here, we close after that candle, and then price starts to close above this 5-minute fair value gap. So we dip into it a little bit, reach consequent encroachment, body close in the upper half. So I'm looking for large range black candles here. Just labeling that I want that to be that future bearish inversion fair value gap. And I think this is the point of the trade where price starts to push higher on me. And this is what I don't want to see. I don't want to see price return to that breakaway gap. When I mark a breakaway gap, I want it to be a breakaway gap. I want price to not refer back to it for that duration of that trade. If it does, I want it to be very quick and sudden, and then aggressively displace lower. But as you can see, we're reaching back into that breakaway gap. Also on the 5-minute, I would like to see a close. We have a fair value gap there, but I need to see a close below the consequent encroachment. And at this point, I moved my stop just a little bit. I don't like to do that, but I just moved it above the mitigation block in case we tapped it and then immediately went down. But it eventually went against me, and I was stopped out. But I'm glad how I handled this trade. And that's it. That's all she wrote for today.